guitarists, James here from GoodGuitarist.com, and today I want to demonstrate one of the most important pieces of music theory for guitar using a song that we're all familiar with, Me and Bobby McGee. And this song is, on the surface, quite simple, but it has some musical event within it that we can learn from that will help us understand some of the most fundamental and critical concepts when it comes to music theory. Really quick before we get started, if you enjoy learning guitar with me, please take a moment to subscribe to the channel, and if you haven't grabbed your copy of my free ebook, I'll leave a link for you down below in the description, or you can just visit goodguitarist.com and get it there. Now, diving in, I want to begin with a very basic song analysis. Here are the chords for Me and Bobby McGee. And this is the original Chris Christopherson version, by the way. You can see it starts off, it's just a 3-chord song, A, D, and E, you know, 3 chords in the truth. But then about halfway through, all these other chords start getting introduced. And what's occurring there is a key change. And rather than explain a key change in all these snooty musical terms, let's just use our ear and some common sense. The first verse goes like this. Busted flat in Baton Rouge, waiting for a train. When I was feeling near as faded as my jeans. And then at the end of the first chorus, our key change occurs, and we have this. From the Kentucky coal mines to the California sun, Bobby shared the secrets of my soul. So verse 1 and verse 2 sound identical. You don't need to know what's going on, anything about keys. You can just hear that. It's just, it goes one key higher. But it's pretty subtle, and you barely notice it. If I played this for my dad, he wouldn't know any of this stuff. He doesn't know anything about music, but he would still be able to hear that sort of uplifting thing. Anybody listening to this song will hear this uplifting quality as the song lifts a whole step into the next key. And at this point, you might be asking, well, what's a whole step? Well, in order to answer that question, I want to show you one of the greatest tricks in music theory. It's not even really a trick. It's just something that I don't really see many people do, but it makes so much sense whenever you're about to do any music theory stuff, whether you're writing a theory exam at music school, like I used to have to do, and that's why I started this whole thing in the first place, or if you're simply trying to figure out what key to change a song into so that it works better with your voice. And that little trick is what I call the never-ending line of notes. And this is basically a representation of any string on your guitar. You start off with all the letters, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. The musical alphabet only goes up to G. And you put a dot in between each one, except between B, C, and E, F. And this is what you get. And you just go on like 3 times, through your musical alphabet. And that'll allow you to visualize any string of your guitar. So for instance, our E string, we start at E on our never-ending line of notes. E and F are right beside each other. Then F to G, there's like a dot in between them. We're skipping a fret. G to A to B, B and C are right beside each other. And those dots are the sharp or flat notes. I've explained this in another video, but if you're not familiar with that, basically the never-ending line of notes is just a picture of the string. Now, moving forward, we have our never-ending line of notes as a reference, and we have A, and that's the key that we're starting Me and Bobby McGee in. And then we move into the key of B. And to go from A to B, we're going up a whole step, which is 2 frets or 2 notches on our never-ending line of notes. A half step is where you just go up 1 fret or 1 little notch, and a whole step is 2. So that explains what's happening with our key change. We're going up a whole step, and it provides us with this beautiful musical uplifting feeling that adds energy, to an otherwise, plain old 3-chord song, right? And now that we've established that, let's analyze the first part when we're in the key of A. So before we take a look at the progression, there's one more piece of prep that I want to do. I have the note A, that's my key, that's number 1, and I'm going to write that down. And now I'm going to write out the rest of the A major scale. And once again, we're doing some prep work so that when it comes time to actually figure this stuff out, all the mathy stuff is already done for us. Just like when a chef cuts up all the vegetables and everything, they do their mise en place. They do that ahead of time so that when it's time to cook, man, they can just throw stuff together and be creative, and that's what we're doing here. We're doing our mise en place for theory. So I start in A, and I use the magic scale formula, whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. Once again, I'm using whole steps and half steps, and I'm referring to my never-ending line of notes. I do that, I end up with A, B, C sharp, D, E, F sharp, G sharp, and then back to A. That's the key of A. I have a video that covers music theory in 15 minutes if you want some more clarification on this. This is, putting that stuff to use. Anyways, now that we've done all our prep work, it's going to be easy to just look through our tune. And looking at our progression, I see that I have an A chord. So I'm just going to circle A, and then there's a D chord and an E chord, and there's no other chords, So in my key of A, when we look at the numbers underneath, the ones that we've highlighted, A is 1, D is 4, and E is 5. So this song is just a plain old 1-4-5, just like any simple blues song. Those are the only 3 chords you really need. You can make any sound because they provide all of the musical functions, tonic, subdominant, and dominant. But we're not going to get into that here. I digress. All we simply need to establish is that we're using the 1-4-5 in the key of A. And if we do the same thing for the key of B, looking through at the second verse of the song and onward, you'll see that it's the same thing. We're using B, E, and F sharp, which are the 1-4-5 in the key of B. And not only are we using the same chords, we're using them in the same place. We're just swapping out all the A's for B's because those are both number 1 in their respective keys. We're swapping out the D's for E's because D is 4 in the key of A, and then it's 4 in the key of B, and when we compare the 2 sections like that, what we're really doing there is using the Nashville Number System, and that's what people do in their heads to quickly change keys. But it doesn't end there. We can use this skill to change into any key, and on guitar, the most commonly used keys are C, A, G, E, and D. And that spells the word caged, and this isn't related to the cage system, but it is. And I just want you to note that the key of B isn't in there, because the key of B kind of sucks to play on guitar, right? It's a lot of sharp and flat chords. It's all bar chords, basically. And it's fine to play those, we use them all the time. But guitar, I know people might hate me for saying this. Guitar sounds best with open chords, so I like to use open chords as much as possible. Not because it's easy, not because it's some cop-out, because the instrument itself sounds richer when you're taking advantage of those open strings. So my goal here, in our example, is to find a key for this song that avoids bar chords entirely, unlike the original, which uses the B, F, and F sharp chords, right? So let's start with the key of C. C will be our beginning key, and then in the second verse, we're going to go up a whole step. So let's see where that leads us. We're starting in the key of C, we go a whole step up into D. So our song is going to start in the key of C, and then it's going to continue on in the key of D. And then when we map out the 1-4-5 in each of those keys, in the key of C, we get C, F, and G. And in the key of D, we get D, G, and A. And out of all those chords, F is a bar chord. So the key of C, freedom's just another word for, so we do use an F bar chord. There is a simple version of F that isn't a bar chord, but it still doesn't have any open strings. So while that's a pretty good key, starting in C and going into D, let's try our luck. The next one is A, and we've already done A. So let's move on to G. The key of G, we're going to start the song in the key of G, and then in the second verse, we're going to move up a whole step. So going from G up to the key of A. And looking at the chords in each of those, the 1-4-5, G, C, D, and then the 1-4-5 in A, D, E, and every single one of those is an open chord. So in my opinion, that is the ideal key to play it in. And we could stop there, but just for fun, let's check out those other keys. After G, we would investigate the key of E. So we start off on the key of E, and then we go up a whole step into the key of F sharp. And I can tell you right away that we're going to be using some bar chords. The key of E, the 1-4-5 are E, A, and B. So there's another bar chord. And then for F sharp, it's F sharp, B, and C sharp. So we got 4 bar chords and 2 open chords. This is going to be a bit of a trickier key to do. Finally, the key of D. We start off in D, and then we would move into the key of E for the second verse. The 1-4-5 in D are D, G, and A. And the 1-4-5 in E are E, A, and B. But we can avoid that B bar chord by playing B7. And this doesn't work all the time. You can't just put B7 in place of any B chord. It'll work well if it's the 5. And this is why it's important to kind of know about keys, right? In the key of E, B is the 5 chord. So you can put a 7 chord in there, B7, and it's gonna work. But in some cases, if you use B7, it'll just make the song sound too bluesy, you know? So it doesn't always work. Either way, there you go. That's a little bit a real world music theory, because truth be told, it makes the most sense to learn it in this way. You know, once you figure out a little bit about the notes, you got to actually use it. You got to exercise that muscle. So I encourage you to take this knowledge and start applying it to the songs that you love. You know, this is the bread and butter of my channel, is taking songs that are difficult and figuring out how to put them into an easier key to help people learn the songs that they love earlier in their guitar career, you know, before bar chords and all that stuff. Now, speaking of all that, if you are interested in really getting ahead on guitar, either starting off the right way and learning songs, you know, making it sound really good as soon as possible, or hitting the next level and making your chords and strumming sound, you know, really musical, I have a ton of courses. I'll put a link to those down below. It's the best way to support the channel, but also the best way for you to move forward on guitar and hit your goals, and to, you know, do it soon rather than someday. So I'll leave links below for all of that. Don't forget to subscribe if you enjoy learning guitar with me, and to grab your copy of my free ebook. You'll find everything at goodguitarist.com if you don't find it down below in the description. Otherwise, have a fun time practicing, and I'll see you soon.